I'm Kendra Stanley, and you're watching Around the Valley. On today's episode, we are at the Good Beer Store in Freiburg, Maine, where Allagash is doing a pilot beer. Let's go in and learn more about craft beers and how they're brewed. I'm here with Bob, one of the owners of the Good Beer Store. Bob, how are you today?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
I'm wonderful. What made you open a beer store?
Well, the four of us, the owners and some friends of ours, always traveled for hours to get good beers. So we decided to shorten the trip a little bit and open one for ourselves and for all of our friends in this area.
And I hear there's even wine now too.
Yes, we have over 200 different styles and labels of wine.
Excellent. And as far as the beers go, there's so many different kinds out there. What are the different varieties that you have here?
We have over 950 to 1,000 different labels of beer. There's, I think, 86 registered styles of beers, but there are sub-styles, so it can be endless.
What's the most popular one that you sell?
That's a good question because everybody has their favorites. One of the most popular is the Maine Beer Company beers, Allagash beers, which we're doing today. Pretty much any of the ones that we carry are really good beers, so you'd kind of hard to go wrong picking any one of them.
So if I'm only drinking, let's say, domestic beers, and I come in and I have a lot of questions, is everybody here able to help me and maybe put me on a path to develop my beer palate?
Yes, anybody here, any of the owners or any of the people working here can definitely steer you in the right direction because it is a daunting task to figure out which beer is going to fit your taste. But there are many, many styles that you would probably like no matter what style you like to drink.
So I know we're going to be trying some Allagash today, but other than that, do you have other beer tasting and wine tasting throughout the year, and how do I get that information?
Yes, we have 36 that we're allowed between beer and wine tastings for a year. We'll put them on our website. We'll have an emailing. If you come in and give us your email, we'll do that. We also do Facebook, and I believe we're starting to do Twitter now as well, so just check those, and we'll be glad to tell you when we're having them.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
So Ruth, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the beer store.
Well, we'd go to Ebenezer's restaurant on the weekends and just start tasting different kinds. I was never really a big beer drinker, but then with the smaller samples tasting it, it just became popular and we were going there a lot.
So if people are coming in and they don't have a well-developed palate and they're looking to try something a little different, what do you generally suggest?
If it's a girl or a woman, I usually suggest the lambics. It's more of a wine type of beer. And then from there, you just keep trying little sips of everything.
And do you see an increase in women coming in and trying new beers, kind of like with wine?
There's so many women drinking beer right now, and all different styles. I just started loving stouts. It's amazing. You go from one to the other, and it's crazy.
And they're great to cook with, so worst case, if you don't like it, you can always throw it in some mussels or something.
If you need to.
Thank you so much, Ruth.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll be talking with Kevin from the Good Beer Store. So Kevin, can you tell me a little bit about the specialty beers you have here and some differences between them?
Sure. We have a lot of gluten-free products. For instance, ciders are gluten-free. There's a lot of hard ciders coming out lately. For instance, I think we probably have 5, 6, or 7 different brands of ciders. A lot of gluten-free beer. Dogfish Head came out with a gluten-free beer this year. It's called Tweezin, which is very popular. It has a strawberry flavor to it.
Sounds yummy.
Yeah, it's very good. So we have a lot of different products for those people that need to be gluten-free.
That's awesome. And if you were maybe wanting to brew beer at your house or something, I've seen or heard some people on Facebook talking about brew kits. Do you offer things like that here?
Yes, we sure do. We have a lot of brew kits. We have actually grain for the all-grain brewers out there. But the beginner person can come in and pick out a kit, say whether they want to do a pale ale. We'll have a pale ale kit. You basically just have to boil water, follow the directions, but we also do homebrew classes.
Excellent. And when are your classes available?
We try to do a class once a month. We usually have a sign-up sheet here at the store, and people will sign up, and we try not to have more than 6 or 8 people in the class. And it's been a great stepping stone for people out there that want to homebrew.
Now, if they had some questions and maybe wanted to get a hold of you guys, what's the best number for them to call on?
The best number to call is the store, 207-256-8110.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited to talk with Patrick. So up next, we'll be talking with Patrick from Allagash, who's going to teach us a little bit about brewing. You work at Allagash. What do you do there?
I'm one of the brewers there. So
Excellent.
I end up brewing a lot of the white beer for the week.
Excellent. So you're doing a pilot beer today. What have you done so far, and what are we getting ready to watch you do?
Okay, as of right now, we have added the water and the grist, which is all the grains that we have together, into what we call the mash, which is right here. So it's pretty much just getting all the sugars broken down and out, so that way we get the sugars together, and when we pitch yeast to it later on, that's where all the alcohol and carbon dioxide will come from. So right now, we're just doing a rest, and then eventually we're going to start transferring the sugar water, which is what wort, from there into our boil kettle. That's where we'll add hops and actually boil it down, and that will be pretty much the final beer or pre-beer before it actually turns into beer.
So when you start off with, how many gallons is this here?
I believe these are 15 gallons.
And what will be our finished product when it's all said and done?
Finished product should probably be about 10 gallons.
10 gallons.
Right around 10 gallons for this, yes.
Excellent. And mostly in Allagash, you guys do Belgium-style beers. How is that different from maybe other craft beers, and what are the steps and processes that make it different?
Mainly, Allagash does only Belgian-style beers. Back in 1995, when Rob Todd started the company, that's what he wanted to do, was just that kind of niche market, because there wasn't a lot of Belgian-style beers in the country, and especially in Maine, so he wanted to do that. So that's what we've been doing for about 17 years now, just straight Belgian-style beers. A lot of the difference with Belgian-style beers and the American craft beers, it's mainly the yeast strain. Yeast strains from Belgium give off very nice, like, fruity esters. Also with Belgian-style beers, Belgians have this kind of kitchen sink mentality where they will take any sort of ingredients and put it in there. So we do a lot of beers with fruit. We'll even do sour beers, which is kind of an up-and-coming thing right now too. What have we done? We put grapes into beer, all types of different specialty grains. For this one right here, we put rye in it, malted rye, so that's going to give a nice spiciness to the beer, which is pretty cool. Oh, and yes, some local honey too as well, which is very exciting. We've used that at Allagash too. It's pretty much just there's no real limitations to Belgian beers, which is nice. It's nice. You can do whatever you want.
And you use the local products. We have so many great products in New England, so that's fantastic.
Yes.
Now, is there a special glass that you have to serve this in? I see some beers come in special glasses, and I've always wondered why that is.
Yeah, there are special glasses for each one, trying to almost just accentuate the personality of each beer, the aromas, the flavors. We have kind of specialty glassware as well. I think you just need really pint glasses are great, but almost like a chalice kind of glass that has a nice wide opening is usually the best, just because you can, when you do a nice swirl of it, you can get a lot of aroma out of it.
It's very similar to wine then. It's actually kind of not too scary when you're trying to try different beers and stuff. Very similar to wine. You want it to open the flavor profile. Exactly.
Because beer is not just for just drinking, for consumption. There's a lot more going on to it. A lot of nice aromas, flavors, especially with Belgian beers and the American craft beer too.
Excellent. So are we ready to get started on this next product?
Yes.
All right.
All right, yeah.
You want to just go ahead and explain while you're working? That would be fantastic. Let me know what you're doing.
Okay. So right now we are done with the mashing process. So our rest is done. We pretty much have all the sugar that we're looking for that's going to turn it into the beer in the final process. So what we do is we start running off from this kettle into this one. This will actually be our boil kettle. We're going to slowly run off the sugar water into the bottom, and then as it gets higher, we'll start adding hot water to the top of this vessel, which will eventually just drain through the whole thing and collect up to probably 12 or 13 gallons, which will give us that final 10 gallons at the end. Just because it all boils off, it'll condense it. So that's what they're doing right now, just running it off right out of here and then into the bottom. And
so to keep consistency, how do you test beer to make sure there's the right amount of sugar for the yeast to eat to produce the alcohol and keep that even alcohol percentage every time?
There is usually with the grain, when you get the grain, there is a report that comes with it, tells you exactly how much sugar or average sugar is for that particular, lot of grain. Because since it's a natural product, it's always changing year after year. Right now, though, for this batch right here, we have over there what we call a refractometer. It measures the refraction of light through the liquid itself. So we just put a couple of small drops onto the glass, and you look through it into a light source, and that will actually show you, it'll give you a reading in specific gravity or bricks. There's a couple different scales, or degrees Plato, and then you can actually figure out how much sugar is in that wort that you're using. And then once you have that type of information, you can actually then test it right before you boil, just to see if it's at the right level you want. And then once you're done boiling, test it one more time, and that will give you your final profile, where then you want to aim for, say, I think for this beer we are doing 10, what is our original gravity we're looking to hit for this one?
1052.
1052. So we would like that to get down, once the sugar is being eaten up by the yeast, that's going to bring it all the way back down to, I think, for 10, I don't know, probably about 1010. That's just pretty much a density of sugar in water. So with 1052 means there's a lot more sugar in the water, 1010 means there's a lot less. So once we have those two numbers, we can actually figure out how much alcohol is in. And then based off the grain each time, you can just adjust the recipe, the amount of pounds of grain, to hit those exact numbers again.
So what happens to the grain that's in here now? Is that thrown away at this point?
Usually with us at Allagash, we will take this grain after we're done with it, and we actually send it to a farmer, and he takes it and feeds it to his cattle. So he mixes in with his normal cattle feed. And it actually helps us because we get rid of it. We don't have to get rid of it ourselves. And then also it helps him because he gets all this extra cattle feed, which still has a little bit of residual sugar in it. So it's nice and sweet. The cows tend to love it. So it helps everyone in that.
Yeah, nothing left over. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
So when you get to the point where you're going to add the hops, I've heard that there's many different kinds of hops depending on where you get them. Can you help explain that a little bit and break it down? And what can we get here in Maine for the home brewer? So when you're getting ready to add the hops, I've heard that there's several different kinds of hops and you can get many different varieties. What can you get locally here in Maine, or as close to Maine as possible?
We're actually very lucky. There's many different types of hops. A lot of American hops, hops from Germany, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic. But pretty much nowadays you can get anything you need. It's very nice. Even with the home brewing community too, there's so much available. There's almost it's not an unlimited supply, but anything you need variety-wise, you can always get it from somewhere. We tend to use at Allagash just kind of the noble hop varieties, which are older kind of hops, usually from Germany or Belgium, that have kind of nice, pleasant aromas. Belgian beers don't usually go for American hops. American hops tend to be very citrusy, very fruity. So we tend to use the hops just as a balancing to the sweetness of the malt and of the wort right here. But yeah, with hops these days, it's kind of nice. You have so many varieties out there. There's some new ones coming out from Australia and New Zealand.
Are there color variations or size differences? How do you know if you got good hops?
It's mainly going to be aroma and flavor of the hops is what changes. They all kind of look the same. It looks like little rabbit food actually in pellet form. We are using whole leaf hops as well today. There's a little difference between them. It's really just kind of the taste of the brewer who's using them. Allagash, we use pellet hops with pretty much everything. It's just an easier form to use.
Does Allagash have like a #1 selling that you guys make that just seems to be hands down the one that everybody enjoys?
Beer, yes, Allagash White. It's the best-selling beer we have. It takes up about 70 to 80% of our production, and pretty much you can give it to any beer drinker who hasn't had a nice craft beer before, and they're going to love it.
Can they do tours at Allagash? Can I come there and walk around and try some beers?
We do tours Monday through Saturday. I believe Monday through Friday we were doing 3 tours a day. I believe it's 11, 1, and 3. And then Saturdays we're doing 4 tours, 11, 12:30, 2 o'clock, and 3:30. And you can sign up online. We do registrations for the tours online. I believe it's eventbrite.com has them. Or you can go through our website too, allagash.com, and that will have just a little link on the side that says sign up for a tour.
Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to rinse the grain bed, the mash. So it's just a matter of balancing the valves and keeping the grain bed in suspension. And we're looking for, I don't know, probably a half hour to 45 minutes to actually sparge this batch of beer. These are all the good sugars in the wort. And we have fresh water going on the top of this grain bed that is actually getting rinsed down through the grain bed and getting drawn out the bottom to get all those good sugars out of the grain. We're looking at a certain